Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're keeping well. Welcome to another Premier League preview show. As you can see, I'm wearing all my Arsenal gear. Of course, Arsenal have just played. Not long. It's finished probably about 20 minutes ago. If that, Arsenal just beat Bodo Glimt by 1-0. Just quickly touching on that. I'll watch the game. And those Arsenal fans who did watch as well, it wasn't a great watch. And it wasn't a great performance, but you take the win. Much changed sides on a difficult surface. Players making their first start of the season, Reece Nelson, and players not playing much together in their combinations and just getting used to what Arteta is building, I guess. And I was just talking about it with Ed in the background just before we started the stream, and he made a good point. And you know what? He spoke about Copenhagen, and they drew 0-0, and Man City had a mix-up of a performance, not really at their brilliant best. And that's what happens when you change a few players and you're going away to these sides in Europe. And I thought it was an excellent point. And Arsenal move forward, and that's 11 wins in 12 in all competitions. Decent. You saw Bodo Glimt last week, didn't you?
I did. I was quietly impressed with them. They're no great shakes in terms of like Premier League quality and that kind of stuff, but there were some good players. Roll out the cliches of well organised, everyone knew their jobs and all that kind of stuff, but that was legitimately what it was. But what I remember we said at the end of that, like how comfortable the game was for Arsenal, is that we chatted for most of that game, not really about the Arsenal game, because it was a formality, wasn't it? And I didn't watch any of the game. Full disclaimer, I wasn't interested in watching a second version of the Bodo Glimt. Especially not in the Arctic Circle, which it was, I think, tonight. So yeah, I didn't watch it, but another win's a win, right? With a mixed bag of a team. How was the keeper? Only question I've got.
You know what? Man of the match. He was really good tonight. He was off his line. He was sweeping. I think he's starting to get a lot more comfortable, because this is something that a lot of keepers, when they're coming into this Arsenal side, or if you go to Liverpool or Man City, you're being asked to do a completely different job than what you would do in many other sides. In coming off your line, being good with your feet. I actually thought he was man of the match today, and that shows, how decent Bodo Glimt were. They just lacked the quality. And his kicking, when we watched it, wasn't the greatest. He didn't look anywhere near as comfortable, but he looked a lot more comfortable and assured tonight. So yeah, gaining in confidence, and we might need to call upon him if Ramsdale gets an injury. Did you see the Arsenal game when he started pulling and feeling his hands?
His hip flexor, was it, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
I think we touched on it last week. There's not many backup goalkeepers that are going to be as good as Ramsdale with their feet, because most first team keepers aren't as good as Ramsdale. So
we'll get into it now, but let me say hello to Wagwan to each and every one of you in the chat. We've got Wilf in here saying Satnin, T-Money, Ed baby, and my people. Ed's in here as well, the duo in the comments as well. Big up Shay. Hope you're keeping good. Shay, I will do a call-in show soon, and then you'll definitely be able to join my brother. We're just doing the Premier League preview tonight. This is the one that me and my bro do. But yeah, we'll get a call-in show going for you. Big up each and every time for the love and support you show. Big up my brother Jay, saying big up my bros. Hope you're keeping good. 1-0 to the Arsenal, as Ed brought this up earlier. 1-0 to the Arsenal. Yeah, we haven't been singing that for a while, have we? Listen, at times we need to grind out wins, exactly, against any opposition. So yeah, I'm all right with it. I'm not going to be moaning like some Arsenal fans out there will be, but just got to tune into the right people. Remember, they were on a 14-game run, included a 6-1 hammering of Roma. Turner turned up, defo man of the match. Yeah, they're not a bad side. They beat Roma 6-1 and they're the Europa Conference League winners. And going into this Europa League, they were one of the favourites as well. And look at that, big up Shay saying your favourite Arsenal player, Saka, with the goal. And Paxton, come on, need to step up my game. No more complacency. If you don't know what he's talking about, people, Edmin, the wonderful Edmin himself, he manages all the predictions that we do. As in the show, we'll talk about the games. You guys give your predictions in the live chat if you're watching, or in the comments after the video. We do prefer that everyone sends them in the comments as well, just so it's easier to keep track of, and yeah, makes Edmund's life and job easier. So he doesn't have to end up watching it all back or writing everyone's down in the middle of us chatting about football. Is there anything else I need to talk about, bro, or anything that I've missed?
No, I don't think so. I think it's all about the predictions tonight and the rundown of the stats and the injuries and stuff that we'll touch on. So now we can crack on whenever.
So, without further ado, we're going to have to talk about the big game of the weekend. And as an Arsenal fan, it's a win-win situation for me. And also, I was listening to on the Arsenal Vision podcast, and they were saying this, depending on your ambitions and where you think this Arsenal team can be, will determine who you'll want to win this game. And that's between Liverpool and Manchester City. The big one, people. The one that we always look forward to going into a Premier League season, given the levels that both teams have been at. Liverpool massively dropped off compared to where they have been in recent years. But, Ed, give us the record and stats for this one, which is at Anfield, Liverpool off the back of a 7-1 win.
Yeah, they jump up in so for the guys that are new, the numbers in the brackets is the XG for both teams. This XG flew up after yesterday's 7-1 win against Rangers. So Liverpool with an XG of 2.92, Man City's at 2.16, and the average goals at 4. And if you just look at the bottom there, the last meetings between these two teams, 2 wins for Liverpool, 2 draws, and 1 win for Man City. And of course, if you remember at the start of the season, people were writing off Haaland after the Charity Shield match, or the Community Shield, whichever one it's called. And now look where both Núñez and Haaland are. And if you look at the form here, Liverpool's a bit up and down, 3 wins, a loss and a draw, and Man City unbeaten in 5 there. So that's the stats for this game.
And of course, the big injury news, if you were keeping up with the Arsenal game when Liverpool, lost to the mighty Arsenal, injuries to Diaz, injuries to Trent Alexander-Arnold. Diaz is not expected to be fit until after the World Cup. So that's a huge loss for Liverpool, as he's been one of their shining lights in this start of the season, in a season where it hasn't been shining brightly much at all. But Luis Diaz's injury, that's certainly a blow, and he would have been a vital figure in this game. But Liverpool, they're not light in attack, so they're not light in numbers up there. So maybe they'll be all right, and they'll be able to find a way to, manage without him. It is a massive game. It is a difficult one. But yeah, no Luis Diaz, no Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. Everything isn't going right for him at the moment. A memeable player, we'll say, with a lot of his woes and his weaknesses being exposed at the floor at the moment. But he's going to be missing for them. And once again, with Trent, we all know it's very much spoken about his weaknesses in defending, but going forward, even with the first goal, it's not a bad ball he's played forward, even though it looked like an aimless one. But Trent to play that with the outside of his foot and cause problems, just looking like a simple long ball. So he'll be missing in this one there, as well as, of course, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita, Curtis Jones, Arthur Melo, and Joel Matip, another one who picked up an injury in that Arsenal game. So a lot of injuries to Liverpool. It's not easing for them. But for Manchester City, it's not great for them or either at I would say their weakest area of the team, which most oppositions are going to probably try and exploit. And that's at the back, with Kyle Walker and John Stones not being fit for this one. Kyle Walker had surgery as well, and he had successful surgery, so there's no return date for him, and a potential return date for John Stones, which is from the 16th. So yeah, next week. Well, actually, he could be fit for this game. Actually, I forgot we're already into the month, so John Stones could be playing, and Calvin Phillips is out injured. So maybe we might see the return of John Stones, but I don't think you'd see him starting at this moment in time. But brother, we do need to speak about this. Liverpool, off the back of that 3-2 defeat to Arsenal in the Premier League, a little bit. I know I've got my own thoughts and opinions on that. It'll be interesting to hear yours. And Manchester City in the Premier League, they beat Southampton by 4-0.
Yeah.
Haaland, not having his greatest game, but still scoring. And still
only getting the one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the levels that he's shown. What's your thoughts going into this one, the form of both sides, and how this is going to play out?
Yeah, there was the Arsenal game against Liverpool was really interesting because there were flashes of Liverpool in attack where they looked like they were firing. Mistakes at the back and in midfield were glaring. The midfield was pretty stark, the difference between the two midfields. I think that was the biggest thing for me. Whether that they'll take some heart from the 7-1 yesterday, of course, winning breeds more winning, and it was a comprehensive performance. But it's against Rangers, so you want to also take into consideration that's a much weaker league, a much weaker team. But maybe this might be the boost for Salah to score, come on and score and to do something. Man City came up against a brick wall in that goalkeeper against Copenhagen. He had a game and a half, didn't he? The rotation is there. I think is it next week? Man City have got a blank game week as well.
Yeah, that would be meant to be playing.
Should have been playing Arsenal. Yeah, so you've got that. Well, I've got that in the back of my mind, not just for FPL reasons, but also there may not be a need for Pep to rest as much or rotate as much because he's got a week coming up. So will we see the full strength Man City team? Man City's defence is still potentially a little bit lightweight for me, but picking holes in this Man City team is really quite difficult. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. The average goals that's ticking along or was ticking along at the bottom was 4, massively helped by Man City and Liverpool putting some teams to the sword this year. But a 4-goal game in any way, shape, or form should be a good game. So it'd be really interesting to see these two juggernauts go against each other again, and that midfield battle is key because Liverpool, it's just not at the levels it is. And obviously we've got all the controversy around the investigation into Henderson and all the other stuff that's going on as well in the background. This is a big test for Jurgen Klopp, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And in the Arsenal game in the first half, I thought it was a high-quality game, how both teams were set up and how both teams were playing through a lot of pressure under the press. I thought Liverpool were better in the first half, and then towards the second, their levels dropped off as Arsenal's increased, and that's where Arsenal took the game away from them. And Liverpool were quite fortunate to even score an equaliser, which was, another glimpse of their quality that they've shown for previous years. One moment, one chance, they can score just like that. But given the fact that this is also at home at Anfield in a massive game on a Sunday evening here in the UK, it's the crowd is certainly going to be up for it, and they can drag Liverpool over the line. We certainly know that here at Anfield. Have they lost the game? Have they lost at Anfield? They haven't. I know they drew at Brighton and Crystal Palace, but this Anfield crowd, they will make it difficult. And for Manchester City, although they are relentless and scintillating going forward, with Foden, who's chipping in with more goals, looking like the pressure is relieved off of Manchester City now that Haaland's there as the striker, and players have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more space because all the attention and the attraction is to Haaland, and players and like Kevin De Bruyne get to play their ridiculous and audacious passes that he can pull off, and it's actually being converted with Erling Haaland, and with his physicality, his strength, his speed against this Liverpool high line, it just looks hard. That it's difficult. You can't really see Liverpool. No way either side really is keeping a clean sheet with how both teams set up. But I do think the Anfield factor could be something, and this Manchester City not so strong defense. Once again, I'm impressed with how Manchester City are going forward and how they just have a striker that can finish off games that they just weren't able to finish off previously. They're not having anywhere near as much control as we've seen them at their peak best, I would say. But that's one of the good things with Man City. They only need to get it going at periods in the game, and they can win it just like that and take it away from you. And against this Liverpool defense, which isn't squeaky clean at all. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. And in terms of a prediction, and what I would want, you know what? I know it sounds correct. Once again, if you want a Liverpool, Arsenal fans, if you want a Liverpool win, that shows that, you know, that you really are hoping that we can take this all away. If you're going to be pragmatic and then say, you know what, Manchester City win so we can possibly extend the gap between us and Liverpool and assure top four even more. So depending on how you look at it, it could be a win-win situation. And then
so how are you looking at it?
You know what? It's early in the season still, so I'm going to be looking at it in the optimistic way. I'm going to want a Liverpool win, because if Liverpool can do that, it's just about showing that there are weaknesses in this Manchester City side, exposing it, because they haven't lost a game. I think Newcastle have exposed it. Aston Villa certainly have. And I don't know, man. I feel like Liverpool, although it's not been going great for them, I think they can sneak something. And I know we got Chike in here for the first time, who's a City fan. He's probably not going to like what I'm saying there. But my prediction, I'm going to go with my heart with this one. And my gut, I'm going to say a 3-2 Liverpool win.
Oh, that is a super Sunday and a half, that.
Tell me about it.
Well,
what about you, bro?
So, yeah, I'm not too far away from you. I'm going with a score draw for this one. I think this is going to be a 2-2. I see this being very tight with two teams with obvious flaws, with managers that are really very good at picking out those flaws.
Yeah.
And I think if we'd have been coming off the back of a hard-fought game against Rangers last night, or a draw, or even a loss to Rangers, that I heard, sorry, there was childcare issues, which is why I had to jump off stream to quickly just. The memeable thing about Trent is spreading out now to Liverpool in general in terms of the weaknesses. And I think a bad result yesterday would have piled on that pressure, piled on that narrative, but a very comprehensive win may have done something just to reset this Liverpool team. So I'm going to go for 2-2.
2-2. And also with Salah entering a bit of form and getting a bit of confidence going into it.
Of course he is, because I've just dropped him from my FPL team. Of course he is. Yeah. I've held on to him. As soon as I dropped, he scores a 5-minute hat-trick and he bangs.
Do you know what I did? I played my wild card last weekend. And do you know what I took out? I had 2 Liverpool players, Trent and Diaz. Am I, you know,
worked out all right, isn't it?
That's all Raven settings over here, you know what I mean?
See it into the future.
They got injured. They picked up that injury. So, yeah, I've gone for a 3-2 win to Liverpool, and Ed's gone for a 2-2 draw. Let's see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat. Big up John, who's got the first prediction in here as well, with a 2-1 Liverpool win. Of course, John's going to go with that there, being a Liverpool fan. But, yeah, I want to know, maybe, because this Man City team aren't perfect at all. And I think Paxton's prediction, which has gone for a 3-2 Manchester City win with Firmino, Salah and Haaland hat-trick right there. Shea gone for a 3-3 draw, showing it once again. That City defence isn't quite at it at the moment. Liverpool did do well to score 2 goals against Arsenal, I thought, being clinical and ruthless in their opportunities. Nunez at home as well, the Anfield crowd, I think he'll give him a bit of intensity. So I see what you're going with there. 3-2 Man City, Wilf says, gonna be a cracker indeed. Haaland has lost his mojo. He's peaked. If I were Man City, I'd sell him to Arsenal for 5 million. Hey, we've got Zinchenko, we've got Jesus. Maybe we can get Haaland.
But if you do that, though, how about a 6-month loan at Wolves so we can at least score 3 goals the rest of the season?
We'll give you Marquinhos if you want.
Oh, get lost.
Give him a loan. He can develop him for us. Being as you tried to get him anyway. I believe we will win 3-0 Manchester City, and GK saying with a Haaland hat-trick right there. And Wilf, he's torn between a 4-2 or 3-2 Man City decisions. Just because Team Money went for a 3-2, I'm going to go 4-2. Yeah, nice. 4-2 Man City. I've gone 3-2 Liverpool. I've not gone for a 3-2 City. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm hoping for a Liverpool win. But, yeah, if City win, that means hopefully Arsenal can do their job. And do you know what? Speaking of Arsenal, should we talk about them next? Which is
Why not?
On Sunday. It's not on television, unfortunately, here in the UK. But I'm sure if you're outside of the UK or, you know, you do what you do, you'll be able to watch it indeed. So, yeah.
It's always somewhere.
Exactly. It's always somewhere indeed. Arsenal are away to Leeds United this weekend at Ellen Road in a fixture that, no, I don't think any away game in the Premier League is easy. I mean, I was a few weeks ago would have said, yeah, Bournemouth was one, but it's not looking easy at the
Wolves.
moment. Well, yeah. But by the time you might get a manager soon, so that might change. But yeah, no away game in the Premier League is easy, and especially with a Leeds side that play with such intensity. But Ed, hit us with the records and stats going into this one.
Yeah, so the form for Arsenal is a whole load of W's, which we'll get onto, but also the game is unbeaten in 5 for Leeds versus Arsenal with 4 wins out of the last 5. That draw goes quite a way back now. XG for both teams, 1.49 for Leeds. It's actually gone up since Bielsa left, bizarrely, under Jesse Marsh. The shots on goal are of a better quality, but there are less of them, is what the stats are saying between the two managers at Leeds. And Arsenal's is at 1.72, very, very high, with the average goals in this game 2.5. So this is one where there is potential for it to be a winner rather than a draw. We'll do Arsenal. Arsenal's form is I think he said, was it 10 out of the last 11, did you say, or 11 out of the last 12?
That's
Undefeated. Yep, and 5 wins in a row. Leeds is a very up and down form, nowhere near obviously the same. A loss, a draw, a loss, a draw, and a loss. So the stats, despite the fact Arsenal are away, are heavily stacked in their favour for this game.
Then in terms of the injuries front for Leeds, like they did last season, not looking great. But in terms of a returnee coming back from suspension, is their new signing. In Sinistera, who got that 2 ridiculous yellow cards against Aston Villa. Stupid decisions. Hopefully, he can play like that against us on the weekend. But he'll be back, and I'm sure he'll be a threat with Arsenal. We know the high line that we play. He'll be looking to run in behind, and I'm sure Jesse March will go ahead and start him. Another returnee for them is Junior Firpo. So he picked up a little something last game, but they're hoping that he'll be ready for the Arsenal game. So yeah, he's currently being assessed, but yeah, he's likely that he will be featuring in that game. The absentees though aren't many first team players apart from Stuart Dallas and Adam Forshaw, but Leo Fjelde and Archie Gray, who are ruled out of the side and not going to be fit enough to play on this weekend. For Arsenal, though, of course, Emil Smith-Rowe, Mohamed El Nene being out injured, both having surgery at different points at different ends of the month in September. But Zinchenko, he's currently being assessed. Maybe we might see him return. He's been struggling with that calf injury for a while now, played games, but still been trying to manage through it. But he's been finding it difficult. He's had it throughout most of this beginning of the season. So yeah, well, Arsenal in that left back position, we're not light on numbers, and seeing that Arteta, which he did show previously as well, playing Tomiyasu in it there. So we've got a bit of depth right now, and last resort, you might end up playing Xhaka there again, which I don't really want to see, but he could,
I mean, he could always go the Gareth Southgate route and put Saka back there.
Oh yeah, exactly that. So yeah, we aren't short on numbers there, but the concerns that may be a slight doubt, but I expect him to be fit, is Jesus, as he didn't travel. He wasn't even in the squad for the Bodo Glimt game, but Arteta came out and said that he was just resting him up after everything all the work he's been doing the last couple of weeks. And other than that, Martinelli, he came on, so he was all right, but there was a little bit of doubt surrounding him today as he had his calf all wrapped up. And any other injuries? Unless there is anything that's come out of this game that's just been played. It looks like that we've got most of our squad fit apart from Zinchenko, who's a doubt, and of course, El Nene and Smith-Rowe. But Ed, how do you see this game going? Arsenal continuing their run of form, or do you think Leeds could be a potential banana skin?
Yeah, it's my turn to go first, and I'll go straight out with my prediction while I talk about it. I'm going with a very satisfying and professional 2-0 away win for Arsenal. I just see Arsenal in the form they're in at the minute, and the sheer ability all of the players seem to have. I'm going for them to just be too much for this Leeds team in a not necessarily a slump, but in a vein of form which they would like to obviously get out of. But I think they're going to come across an Arsenal team full of confidence. Saka's back in the goals after his dip in form, as some people were trying to push that narrative a few weeks ago. Even if Martinelli potentially, you said he was sort of strapped up, even if he's dropped for Jesus to play left with Eddie and Nketiah up front, or vice versa, that again, you're not really going wrong in this for me. And Leeds lacking that cutting edge maybe up front, I think, to get through what I think is a relatively stout Arsenal defence, even without Zinchenko and his somewhat mysterious injuries where he's sort of not turning up some weeks and then some weeks he is. I think Arsenal will just have too much for Leeds in this game. So I'm going to go with 2-0.
Exactly. I like that shout. I would be happy with a 2-0 victory, keeping a clean sheet, something that that we haven't done in the last 2 games. But yeah, difficult opponents to do that too. I think we're going to win by 3-1. I do think it's going to be a 2-goal margin. But with how Arsenal are going to set up, I think we're going to blitz Leeds again. But Leeds are very intense in a high-pressing side. And with that Ellen Road crowd and with how they play, I do think they'll be able to get chances against our high line, which I'm sure many teams will, but they won't get many chances because we don't actually let up a lot of shots. But yeah, just being at home, I'm giving them a goal for that reason. And they're not a bad side, Leeds, but they're not going to be match for Arsenal. Having said that, the potential worries is what you're saying is, Leeds are a very quick and energetic side. And if Arsenal aren't at their game and if they're not at their level, then it could be a banana skin in that sense. But with the consistency that Arteta is building with this side right now, I can't see us taking the foot off the gas, especially, being a grinding win. Yep. I'm sure he'll be making sure that, we got to perform better. So it's probably not bad to play like that against Bodo Glimt, and because you will get away with it, whereas against Leeds, it might not be the case. So yeah, I think we'll win by 3-1 though. And then hopefully, we continue our great form and we'll be watching that game at Anfield with our feet up and with whatever happens, whatever the weather.
That's the thing. You get to shoot your shot first, don't you, at the start of that Sunday, right? So that adds on that pressure to Man City that they can't really afford to draw, because all of a sudden, 3 points starts that gap starts to be slightly harder to manifest itself. So yeah, it's a really good chance to go first and put the pressure on either way.
Yeah, and do you know what? Let's see what you guys are saying as well in the chat. Eddie's spot on there. Shay saying 4-0 to the Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli with the Saka, Jesus and Martinelli with the goals. 2-0 Arsenal, Jesus and Saka with the goals, says Pax. Oh yes, he's got Martinelli with 2 goals. I like to see that there. And he's changed his goal scorers to Ødegaard and Saka as well. 3-0 to the Arsenal, says Wilf. And Shay's changed it again. He said 5-0. He said, you know what? Forget this. We're doing it 5-0. Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, and a Saka penalty as well. So Tommy will play both left and right back in the same game. He's very good, Tomiyasu. You know what? Because Ben White has been done very well. He's been kind of underrated, and he did a great job against Salah, not just in the 1v1 defending, but with how Liverpool like to switch that ball from left to right. And Salah was being a lot wider, but Tomiyasu being the aerial threat and how good he is in the air and defending with both feet that he can do. It's brilliant in that sense. I want to have a dip in form like Saka. Tell me about it. But we'll move on into the next game now. And you know what? Moving from the top of the table, we'll move into the relegation battle. And this is at, Ed's team at the home of Wolverhampton.
Okay.
Yeah, Wolverhampton Wanderers. We'll get them out early. For you because this is a big game for both sides, really. And yeah, because of Wolves' more than difficult start to the season, I think this one will kind of set the tempo of Wolves' season. If they can win comfortably, then maybe it says, right, maybe we're a little bit better than these guys in this battle. But if they don't manage to get all 3 points, of Forest nick it, or bro, it's not looking good. But you know what? Maybe the records and stats will make you feel a little bit better.
Well, the records between these two teams are completely irrelevant because we this is our first ever meeting in the Premier League, first top flight meeting I think since the early '80s, so or late '70s. So we can take not very much from the last 5 meetings. Biggest news though, is that I'm at this game as well on Saturday at 3:00. So that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah, forgot.
Wolves' XG is at 1.7, Forest is at 0.83. So B&B, if you are watching, the XG is coming down for Wolves week in, week out. Like I said, it would do. Wolves' form is 3 losses, that win, which seems like a long time ago now, and a draw. And Forest's is that quite important draw they got against Aston Villa at the start of the week, and 3 losses. So yeah, this is 2 of the most out of form teams in the league playing each other. So yeah, this could be a bit of a slugfest and maybe not a pretty one.
And in terms of the players that aren't going to be available due to injury and suspension for Wolves, of course, no Chiquinho, still no Nathan Collins as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is the last of his 3 games.
Okay, so no Nathan Collins, no Raul Jimenez, no, of course, no Sasa Kalajic, and no Pedro Neto, which was it earlier this week? It came out that he had surgery.
Yeah, he's had surgery and he's out of the World Cup, which is gutting for him because he was actually in the rotation for Portugal as well. He would have been on the plane. There's rumours João Moutinho's not going to go, but Neto was a nailed on first reserve on that left wing. So it's quite gutting for him. I think genuinely quite a sad state of affairs as well in that game. Bruno Lage was so desperate for him to not be injured. He was sent on for a good 2 or 3 minutes, sort of wandering around, not being able to put any pressure on that leg at all. So yeah,
awful news for Pedro Neto there. But a little bit of a shining light in this moment is, Ruben Neves. He's back from his suspension after he picked up his 5th yellow card and missed the Chelsea game. So he's back, the Wolves captain, and potentially Boubacar Traoré, who missed the last game due to illness as well. So maybe a little bit of a shining light having Ruben Neves back, and it could be vital in this game. For Nottingham Forest, their injury woes are easing as well. Omar Richards still going to be out though, not expected to return until the end of the month, as well as Jack Colback and Musa Niakate, who aren't really close to fitness either. But a lot of players, Forest have got their number of players in, and a lot of them back fit and available. I don't know if you heard this week as well, they've sacked a lot of the people who've done the recruitment for Nottingham Forest in the summer. And what's that, 2 months ago? They just, a month ago, really. They just completed their summer signings and they've already sacked them already. So, yeah, it's kind of showing a bit of turmoil and change that's happening around Nottingham Forest as well. But, of course, going into this game, my bro, Julian Lopetegui rejected Wolves due to family reasons. You might know a little bit more about that than myself. So, yeah, let me know. What was the reason why, and who do you think you're going to get as well?
Oh, no idea. Some of the names that are coming out now, we are scraping the barrel. So we are being linked now with going back to Nuno, which would be a bizarre decision. I never wanted him to go in the first place, full well I'm a Nuno stan, so that was always an issue for me. But we're now being touted to look at Rob Edwards, who was recently sacked from Watford, who played for Wolves for a bit. That just and the Pedro Martins who said no to Hull last week. So we are looking at managers who've managed Forest Green and Watford and Hull rejects. So yeah, it's not looking good at all, like you say. And the reason Lopetegui's not coming apparently is his father became quite ill towards the end of his Sevilla reign, and I think it took a turn for the worst last week. So he's turned it down for personal reasons to go back. And B&B, if Steve Bruce turns up, I am giving up.
Yeah, he says XG still too high. And is Steve Bruce available? He is indeed. Just been sacked by West Brom after taking over the job in February. And this is what I said. I was saying it to people. No Steve Bruce. Yeah, I was never going to go to a West Brom game while Steve Bruce was there. I might do now, but they're in a bit of a mess themselves. Both black country clubs. But Ed, in terms of this game, and how it's going to go. You did the first one for the last time, so this is vital, and hopefully you in the home crowd will be able to G them up and give them that spur on for this.
I will be shouting.
It's not going to be pretty, given both teams are very low on confidence and with a lot of injuries and glaring weaknesses in terms of your front line, and in those areas there are missing a key figure in Nathan Collins at the back. I'm just hoping that Wolves are able to grind out a win. 1-0, 2-1 win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I can't see either side keeping a clean sheet, really, given how both sides are entering the game. And I just think that Wolves are better than Forest at this moment in time. So just about. And I'm going to go with a Wolves win by 2-1. Not going to be a pretty one. At home, that's the factor why I think they're going to be better. And they've just got that better midfield for me, which will be able to run the game. A little highlight, though, I wanted to mention this live on stream to you. That run from Mateus Nunes.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Incredible.
If you haven't seen it, people, go watch Match of the Day.
I think everyone knows that we have a player there. And the difference between him and Guedes, who's came at half-time after giving one of the worst performances of a Wolves player in the last sort of 4 to 5 years, is that I think even though we are definitely a stepping stone club for these type of players, I think Nunes is here for a good time, not just a long time. And not a long time, but whereas I think Guedes is looking to be here for not very long and to leave quite quickly. But yeah, he's a player and a half, and even if we only have him for a couple of seasons and resell, it might be a gem there we've got.
Yeah. So what's your prediction, bro, into this one? Come on.
My hope is for a 2-0 win. And we command that game. That midfield for me is key. Neves should not be put back into centre-back, and I don't think the interim managers would do that. And I just think that midfield of Moutinho, Neves and Nunes will be enough to beat sort of the up and down of this Forest team, which doesn't look very good. And at the back, maybe we're 3 weeks into Costa being here. Maybe he can bully some of those definitely Championship centre-backs that they have and maybe pick up a goal before he goes off after 60 minutes.
Exactly. And you know what? With interim managers, they tend not to overcomplicate things.
No.
And that kind of helps. We saw it with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've seen it with other teams that have interim managers as well. Just keeping it simple. And I think Steve Davis and the crew are going to do that as well. So, yeah, you've gone for a 2-0. It's nice to see that there. Whereas Shay in the comments, turn away now, Ed and Wolves fans. It's gone for a 2-0 Forest win right there. But lifting your hopes up, Paxton, who's done very well this season as he said, when he picks up from his complacency, he's gone for a 1-0 Wolves win. Costa with the goal. Wumbua Nick went for a 3-2 Man City win against Liverpool, but Wolves to win 4-0 against Nottingham Forest.
That would be dream settings. That would be incredible. Especially as I'm taking my little boy Jacob, and he's 7 years old. He watched a 0-0 draw at the start of the season against Fulham, and was so desperate for a goal he didn't even care towards the end if Fulham scored. So if we was to actually see a score and to put a team to the sword, that might be that last nail in the coffin that he's going to have to suffer with me his life being a Wolves fan.
Or if they do decide to put another ball fest out there, there's always room in here at the Arsenal. You know what I mean, Jacob? We'll talk. Think that XG is still too high, though. Yeah, B&B said. Speaking of nephews, Drew, guys, he's asked for an Arsenal shirt for Christmas. Uncle T's got to sort him out here. Uncle Gagger, he calls me. Anthony says 7-1 Manchester City.
Oof, what a game.
You're either a City fan or a United fan, for sure, Anthony. I'm thinking United with the name Anthony, but you might be. But yep, look at that. Wilf, another one. Diego Costa with a 1-0 Wolves win right there. Scraping the barrel, maybe not a bad thing. You may unearth a gem the next G Potter. But hey, I'd take that Bodo Glint manager if you got anything.
Yeah, well, we were talking about him last week, weren't we? But yeah. We're not going to pay for anyone to leave a club, so they need to be out of work or. Yeah.
What was it? Well, he was interested in that Ruben Amorim. He's very highly rated as well.
Yeah, we're not going to pay. We're not going to pay any money for a manager.
Apparently, he doesn't want to leave Sporting Lisbon at the moment. Well, I can't say Sporting Lisbon, Sporting CF, because they're not going by that name anymore. But yeah, I know a lot about my Portuguese stuff, though. Right? But yeah, with that. Yeah, it's just difficult. I just need you to get a decent manager. No Sean Dyche. There's enough gingers with Wolves around here. I don't need to see another one.
There's not enough room for another one.
Exactly. 1-0 Wolves. Give Ed something to smile about before the Bruce day. Oh,
thanks, B&B.
I don't want Bruce anywhere near this league, let alone at Wolves. But Louis says 1-0 Forest right there. Big up yourself, Louis. Hope you're keeping good. Ilias goes for 3-0 Wolves and a 4-3 Liverpool. Big game, big one right there, Ilias. I do like seeing that. But that'll make Ed happy right there. So, yeah, a lot of people go for a Wolves win, Ed. Maybe that will.
Yeah, I hope they're right.
Hope they're right indeed. And hope that Jacob gets to see some goals at least. If not, I'm doing my work, people. Don't worry, Wilf and Arsenal fans. So we'll go into the next game now, people. And this is a big one for me. And you know what? It's Paxton's team who are currently playing. Let us know the score as well. You should be winning about 4-0, but knowing Man United, they are very much, struggling against Onomatopoeia in the Europa League. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so Manchester United against Newcastle United. This game back in early 2000s, before I was really watching football. This was huge, wasn't it, bro?
Oh, yeah. This was the Keegan's entertainers, and then Ferguson reeled them all in. This is the I'd love it derby, isn't it?
Exactly. And this one's a big one for me, bro, because I don't think this is easy to call. No. But I wonder if the records and stats will help make mine and the rest of the TTF's mind.
Yeah, I think you've taken what I was going to say. I think this low-key could be the best game of the weekend here. So XG, not very much between the 1.6 and 1.67. Average goals, we can pretty much call a 3. So the average goals and the XG both pushing towards both teams are able to score 2 and 3 goals being in the game. So obviously there being a winner. Man United fan, Paxton, David, if you're watching, and everyone else that's joining now. Unbeaten against Newcastle in the last 5 games with 4 wins and just the 1 draw. Man United's form, 3 wins and 2 losses, and Newcastle unbeaten in 4 with 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss. So I think all of the stats are saying this is a very tight game.
I do think it will be as well. And in terms of the injury news for Manchester United, of course, they are currently playing up against Omonia. So yeah, there could be change. There could be change in that when that game is finished. But we know Harry Maguire injured. He's not going to be fit. He'll take a little bit longer. Maybe he might return for this one on the earliest, but most likely not going to be. Scott McTominay picked up his 5th yellow card after coming off the bench against Everton, so he's going to be suspended in this one. Anthony Martial, another injury for him. However, he could return. I'm not sure if he's playing right now. Let me have a look whilst we're doing this live on the fly. I don't think he is. No, he's not.
He's currently 0-0 as well.
Oh, yeah. I've just seen that. Yeah. Oh. No, maybe Martial touch and go, but we'll have to wait and see with that one there, given his injury woes this season. Donny van der Beek out with an injury, no return date, as well as Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Brandon Williams as well. Well, there's actually not a reason for Brandon Williams, but yeah. For Newcastle, though, who did have a little bit of injury struggles and woes at the moment, but you saw him return last week with his 2 goals and a lot of hype surrounding him in Bruno Guimaraes. What a player he is. He's fit and he's available. But Carl Darlow, he's out, as well as John Joe Shelby and Matt Ritchie, as well as Emil Kraft as well. But maybe fit enough to be on the bench is their big signing, their most expensive, their record transfer fee in a player in Alexander Isak, who's had a very good start in this one here. But we are at Old Trafford, people, so remember that in your predictions. Ed, you said this is low-key going to be one of the best games in terms of finely balanced, and any side can take it and it can go any way. How do you think it's going to go?
I think the Isak news was quite interesting. If he was to be on the bench as well, I think that's swayed my thinking a little bit on this one. So I think this is going to be an interesting game. That Newcastle midfield, it's really, Guimaraes is one hell of a player. He is a player that you talked about right at the start of your channel.
Oh yes,
and I'd never heard of him. Obviously,
thanks for the plug there. Go check it out. One of the first videos. Check that out there.
And I think you spent about 20 minutes telling us how to say his name properly to start off with, doing your Tereak Ray stuff. And him, Callum Wilson, a deadly finisher when he's fit and healthy, which he seems to be at the moment. You know, they're not. This Newcastle team is now not reliant on a St. Maximin Maisie run or, you know, some kind of defensive regard action or you know, a Dan Burn header. This is a very well balanced, well coached team. I think I say every week that I massively had doubts about Eddie Howe and completely honestly was wrong on that. I think he's made people, players much better than where they were, and they're signing some incredibly high standard players. The standards have really flown up at Newcastle. And Man United, they are in this middle of this rebuild under Ten Hag. We definitely know what kind of football he's playing. He's trying to manage the Ronaldo situation well. There are still some glaringly obvious issues with this Man United team that I have no doubt that I think this manager will be able to deal with. And I think with Man United being at home, granted they aren't doing that great against Ammonia or whatever they're called at the moment, and made a bit of a meal of it last week as well. But how many times have we seen teams struggle in these types of games where maybe the players aren't able to get themselves up for it as much as us fans think they should do? It is difficult for some of these elite players to get up for games where they kind of feel like, what's the point? I'm still have issues with the back at Man United. So I think, is it my turn to go first on this one?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go for another high-scoring game and another high-scoring draw. I'm going to go for 2-2 in this game.
Do you see with this game in particular, I think, you know, when you're looking at sides and their identity going into it, Newcastle have formed their identity or are beginning to form their identity. And it's very clear to see. Eddie Howe said it himself. And I think there is a sign in the dressing room. Our identity is intensity. And you saw how intense their press was against an intense side in Brentford themselves on the weekend and smashed them. And you know what? It's mad, really, because it wasn't really a 5-1 game. In terms of how many chances that there were, it was just they were pouncing on Brentford and forcing errors out of nowhere. Guys, go check it out if you haven't seen it. Like, man, Newcastle, the quality that they possess as well. They've got that balance of quality and functionality, which is what you need in these sides, and reliable players that are going to give you standard performances. They're not going to fluctuate up and down, but then they've got that sprinkle of stardust in there, Newcastle. Whereas Eric Ten Hag and Manchester United, very early in those days, they've got the quality, the individual players that can pull it out just like that. Hey, if anyone's witnessed it this season, it's Arsenal. Not playing great, but then has that one little that pass, that finish, that run. They've got that in abundance in their front line. And if they get Martial back fit, he can give him a little bit of cohesion as well, linking up top. So it's an interesting one. It's a battle of quality versus cohesion, I'd say. And you know what? They've got that stardust in St. Maximin, in Callum Wilson, in Alexander Isak, and of course Bruno Guimaraes. My prediction: it's not a fortress anymore at Old Trafford. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Newcastle win. And this game is massive for Manchester United, though. If they are going to be, if the fans are going to want to be going into this World Cup break thinking they can challenge for the top 4 at home against Newcastle,
This is 5th versus 6th as well. Remember, this is the team slugging it out to be the best of the rest at the moment, and that's not a dig at Man United or not a over exaggeration on Newcastle for me either. These 2 teams are the teams that I think I had them in and around 5th and 6th in my predictions we did at the start of the season. So maybe slightly lower, maybe 6th and 7th.
7th, yeah.
So. And just quickly on Man United before I know I interrupted, stats for their game against Amania is 79% possession in the first half, 15 shots on goal, 4 on target, 4 corners. They are absolutely, and they have had 1 shot that was off target. So they are absolutely peppering Amania at the minute. And it might be one of those games where things might not happen till very, very late. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
And just bringing up that Amania game, mate, the fact that Manchester United are playing a very, very strong side and that you'd expect a lot of those players to play on the weekend possibly could be a hindrance. That Thursday, Sunday transition, early kickoff as well. So there's a lot of talk on that. Arsenal going to struggle because they don't have the squad depth in the Europa League. A lot of people said, that's not my words. But Man United are playing a lot of their first teamers in a very early stage. I know if you're looking on the other hand, maybe because Erik ten Hag wants to build some continuity, and the only way he can do that is by playing his team and getting them more games under their belt and, getting them used to his system, possibly. But yeah.
Not one of these players is not first team. De Gea, Dalot, Lindelof, Martinez, Malacia, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony, Bruno, Rashford, CR7. That is pretty much a starting lineup.
Come on, guys. Exactly. That's a lot of those players are going to start, at least 9 of them, I'd say, in that game against Newcastle. Maybe that can have an effect as well. Let's see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat right now. Shay has gone for a 4-1 Newcastle win right there. He's gone for mega goals. Big up 10-day item. Is that what it is? Big up yourself. Is that a Newcastle fan as well?
I think so.
Yourself each and every time. Nice to see you in there saying Newcastle United with a 3-1 win against Manchester Divided. Definitely, indeed. But Louis saying 2-1 United in this. Wow, Louis, which one? You know what I mean? Played it safe there. Played it safe. Indeed. Draw written all over this one. 2-2. Says B&B, get off the fence. It's like you and your 0.5s in the ratings, B&B. But listen to Pros Only Sports right here. He was a Manchester United fan. You know what you got to do as well, people. Go check him out. Make sure you like the video, people. Hit the subscribe button. If you're new, big up Tereak and Ed.
If you're Roland.
Big up yourself right there. Shay saying 3-1 Newcastle. You see, you don't know where to go. The stats and figures are rolling in. Ed's changing his mind. But right there, he's gone for CR7, St. Maxi 2, and Callum Wilson with 1. Pax always backs his boys no matter what. He's always there to back his brethren. Big up that, Pax. Newcastle 1, Manchester United 3. ASM, Anthony to make it 4-4. Rashford penalty. And if Ronaldo's playing, then you're telling me Rashford's taking the pen. But Old Trafford will be the theatre of tears. 3-1 Newcastle easy. I understand why you're going into that game confident. Don't you, bro?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've said in all of our pre-season stuff how annoyed I was at how sensible Newcastle have been. And I think you've seen that in how they've played.
Exactly. Very Old Trafford is no longer a fortress. All this Premier League prediction stuff is wonderful, but I was promised some bowls action. Sup with the fam. Give the people what they want.
That's a Discord joke, guys. So if you're not in the Discord, get in the link and get in the Discord where we chat every day. We chat a lot. It's mostly not about football.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. Mostly, definitely. But we listen to Ed as well here. Can we get it to 20 likes? If we can get it to 20 likes for the end of the stream, you people are amazing. And I'll give you a watch along this weekend as well. I'll give you one. Not for Arsenal, though. I can't, man, because it's not. I'm going to be doing a mad stream and you guys are going to be ruining it for me in the chat. I don't like doing the watch alongs if I'm watching it on stream. I need to be watching it live. But it's
got to be the City Liverpool game, right?
Gotta be, exactly. Oh yeah, we'll be watching that with certain comfort and, interest and intrigue as well. I want all the United fans to cry and protest. Let them rot. We will smash them. Look at that right there. Fighting talk. Ten Hag has stated that these players have to be ready for these quick turnarounds, but it's early stages, so they will have some fatigue. And a lot of these players are going to be going to the World Cup as well. So I think it's going to have a massive hindrance to your latter end of the season, though, Pax. With the intensity he's going to want to get them to play to, they're not going to be used to that. And in such a season like this, it might be difficult towards the end. And Louis says, oh, snap, I didn't even clock. It was Manchester United, by the way. No worries. And Ronaldo off the bench right there. And just as we're finishing up on Manchester United, build up yourself, Errol, and everyone else in the chat, including Errol, if you're watching live or in the comments, get your predictions in right there for all the games. As we move on into our next one, for me, it has to be Tottenham versus Everton. Antonio Conte up against Frank Lampard. In this game, this is the 5:30 kickoff, the Saturday evening, which will, be an interesting one, I hope. For Everton, of course, be cheering on your side, Matt, and all the Everton fans. But Ed, give me some hope, please, for Spurs, Everton.
It's not the end of the world, I think, for you gooners out there. Spurs is XG at 1.92, Everton's Frank Lampard's Everton at 1.31. Average goals for this game is a 3.38. So again, this is an odd goal game. So this is potentially going to be a winner takes it all. Last 5 meetings, that's where I'm saying T. There's 2 wins in there, 1 win for Spurs and 2 draws. And if we look at the form, this Spurs form does include the European performances. So they are on the back of 3 wins, a draw and a loss in the last 5 games. And Everton, of course, losing last week to Manchester United with 2 wins, 2 draws and that loss against United.
Interesting there. And in terms of the injuries front for Tottenham, some good news. Dejan Kulusevski is expected to return for this game. So that's good news for them. And some even better news, I'd say, is Richarlison, who was decent against Frankfurt. I'd say, that's I'm saying decent. He's probably quite good because he's a Spurs player. But yeah, he picked up a little knock around his knee, but he should be okay. Antonio Conte said, and should be all right for the game against Everton, against his old side, and which I'm sure he'll want to perform in and want to score in as well. Of course, no Emerson Royale due to his suspension, and Japhet Tanganga, who is out with an injury as well. For Everton, good news and bad news. Good news is Abdoulaye Doucouré has returned from his injury, and he could add in a physical presence and a good technical ability into that midfield as well. It wasn't injury, in fact, it was due to a family issue. So he's back in the squad, and let's hope that he's mentally right and prepared to be playing football at this high level, which you certainly have to be in the Premier League, and he'll come and bounce back with a bang. Also, Mason Holgate, who picked up his injury earlier on in the season, he's back in training. But he's not ready to be in the squad, Frank Lampard said, but he's training really well. So he could return next week. And the bad news, of course, no Anthony Gordon, 5th yellow card last weekend. So he's going to be ruled out of this one due to suspension. Nathan Patterson, he was injured. Maybe he might be back in early November time, just before the turnaround for the World Cup. But until then, after the World Cup, most likely you're not going to see Yerry Mina, Andros Townsend, and Ben Godfrey right there. Ed, my turn to go first, is it, with this one? So, Tottenham against Everton. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, people, because I can only see a Tottenham win, really. And it's not that Everton are a bad side. They may actually do better in possession and might try and create a few chances. It's just that counter-attacking system that Spurs will play, even at home. I think they'll edgy. Excuse me. Sorry. Thank you. What was that, bro?
That was because you said Spurs were going to win. Your body just couldn't deal with it.
Exactly. Ooh, just the thought of it. Yeah, it's disgusting. So yeah, Spurs to win. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win as well. I'm tempted. You know what? No, scrap that. 3-0. 3-0 Spurs win. Yeah, let's move on. I don't want to talk about too much about that. So what's your prediction, Ed?
I'm going Spurs as well. Spurs 2-1.
Spurs 2-1.
I've got genuinely nothing else really to add. I just think I think Aston has got it right there. I think despite Everton doing well, I think Spurs will just have too much for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you say 3-0?
3-0, changed it in the end to 3-0, yeah. What'd you have to make me repeat that?
I was looking for the spreadsheet, man.
Spreadsheet now. You're getting me clipped. You're gonna get me in trouble with Wilf. That's what you're trying to do. But yeah, 3-1 Spurs, says Shay in the play, saying Harry, Kane, Son, Richarlison, and Calvert-Lewin. It would be interesting to see a Calvert-Lewin goal, which is the same as Paxton said right there, with Calvert-Lewin score, but with a 2-1 Spurs victory. Richarlison. Did you get what I did there?
I did.
2-1 Everton B&B. Just Spuds just due another loss. Get this dinosaur football out of the top four. In fact, keep him there, because they're not going to get anywhere better than top four with this football, are they? Big up yourself, Jordan Hyman LFC, saying let's go Liverpool. Hope you're keeping good. Get your predictions in either now or at the end of this video, as well as everyone else watching too. I hate doing this. It makes me feel so dirty. 2-1 Spuds. Right, I'm off to scrub myself with bleach. Exactly. So CT money, even you're allergic to a Spuds win. Exactly. Everton doing very well, but at the end of the day, Spurs will just have too much, which is perfectly said for this one. And let's move on into our next game. And this one, you know what? We should move into the Friday night football, which is tomorrow's game, in fact, which I think it's going to be an interesting one for the neutral, with both sides. Very clear identity. Brentford at home to Brighton. One of those, if you're a football hipster, you love watching these types of games. So guys, don't go anywhere. It will be an interesting one. Q and 0-0 draw. But yeah, I think it will be an interesting tactical battle, and there's some players of some decent quality. Maybe a scouting mission for players that you can, maybe the top 6 sides can nick from these clubs, or anyone. Do you know just the clubs that that Wolves at the moment want to aspire to get to? I'd say. So yeah, Brentford versus Brighton. Who'd have thought you'd been saying that there, Ed?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this one.
Yeah, my first thought was, I think if you'd have told 15-year-old me in the 90s or early 2000s that it would have been then that Brentford versus Brighton would a Premier League game, I'd have told you were on something. So yeah, it's massive really that these two clubs are in, and not just in and scraping, they're in and relatively comfortable at the minute. So Brentford XG of 1.64, Brighton is at 1.4, and the average goals for this game is very high with 3.75. The last 5 meetings, we've got 3 wins for Brighton, 1 win for Brentford, and 1 draw. That does span back to Championship levels, games as well. Brentford's form, slight dip in form recently with 2 losses, 2 draws and a win. And Brighton's with 2 wins, 2 losses and a draw. So form very, very similar for both, with Brighton just getting that 1 extra win in the last 5 games.
In injury news for Brentford, of course, their big man, their main man, Christian Norgard, still out injured, but he could return at the end of this month. He's got Achilles tendonitis, which isn't good, in fact, which means it could be an ongoing injury, which is probably why no other club, because I think he's certainly got the ability to play for the top teams in this league, but probably why they're not looking into getting him in that defensive midfield spot. Pontus Jansson, he could return, but most likely won't do, with a hamstring strain, too short of a turnaround. Keane Lewis Potter, though, he's expected to be back fit after his injury to his ankle. And Thomas Strakosha, he's not going to be fit for this one. And for Brighton, though, Jacob Modder still in rehab with that serious knee injury he picked up. And of course, the sad news that broke out this week with Enoch and Wepu, who's had to sadly retire. And I thought to mention this one because I just wanted to hear your thoughts, bro, and I wanted to let my thoughts out there as well. It is sad news in terms of his career, but the positives, and this is where he's looking from as well, and he's made out in a lot of these statements, is that it's been picked up, and he's been thanking God a lot for his life. He's a Christian, Enoch and Wepu, and he's as he said on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, he's still not finished. So yeah, man, thank God for, and thank the Lord for, that it has been picked up. early on, and we didn't have another, a horrible Fabrice Muamba, Christian Eriksen, Mark Vivian Foe moment.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where, you think, he had talent. The lad was at the start of his career, but it's way more important, and it's a blessing. It really is a blessing that he was in a profession where those kind of tests will be made and made very, very quickly. So I think there is definitely, despite the fact obviously it's going to be incredibly disappointing for him, he is still young. There's a lot of life left ahead of him, and he's still got that life thanks to the hard work he put in to get to being a footballer in the first place. So it's horrible, but like you say, that there's definitely blessings and the grace of God in it all as well at the same time.
Exactly that right there. So in terms of this one, and big up Louis right there. You know what, Crystal Palace fan, rivalry aside, prayers out to Mwepu, and definitely that he can all stay safe, and that it's good. It's a good thing that they've spotted it, and that he'll remain in good health and keep staying in the game, being a good witness as well in life to a lot of people. That he's still going to keep going. He was a very talented footballer, attracted a lot of praise, and he scored against us at the Emirates last season in their 2-1 win. So he's a very good player, and it's a shame. But in terms of this one, I'm sure Brighton are going to want to put out a performance for him. But how do you say this going here, Ed?
Yeah, Brentford at home, we know, roll back to the start of last season, the Brentford at home Friday night, always interesting to see how, can they pick up those levels. They've got a big performance to bounce back from last week where, like you said, it didn't look like a 5-1 defeat, did it, that Newcastle game? If you look at the highlights, but the score doesn't lie either. So I think it'll be interesting. And also the new Brighton manager, he's had another week to get his ideas and his philosophy to build on the magic of Graham that he's left there. And I think also he's even mentioned, hasn't he, how good a place the team, the club, the squad in Potter as well. So the transition, he's actually, not many managers praise the manager that they've replaced, and he has. So it also just gives me that little bit of thought that this Brighton team are in a very, very good place, and brought the not just the squad, the infrastructure must be in a very good place as well. So is it me to go first with this one?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go with the sneaky 2-1 Brighton win.
Sneaky little 2-1 Brighton win, and do you know what? Oh man, it'll be an interesting one. Brentford, off the back of that 5-1 defeat, will want to have a reaction and a turnaround. Well, two very good sides, very well set up. Brentford a little bit more direct than Brighton, who are very good in possession, creating chances, overloading in those attacking areas. But Brentford, they can be direct, they can play through, and they're very good off set pieces. One of the best set piece sides in the league in both boxes. Ivan Toney, I'm going to give it to Brentford just to be different. It's a hard one to really pick. I'm going to go with 2-1 Brentford in this one here. So let's see what each and every one of you guys and girls are saying in the chat right now. Shay, 2-0 Brentford. Tony to score twice. Paxton with the exact same scoreline as me. And of course, he's going to say, Ivan, hold this one, Tony. Brace and Trossard with the goal. Big up my brother Paxton right there. 2-2 for this one. Should be good, though. Definitely in the Friday night game. Brentford 1.5, Brighton 1.5. I'm on Amazon defense as is possible right there. Big up yourself, Peter B. And Wilf saying here, prayers out to Mwepu. Silver lining, he got to play professional football. How many of us would have given a right arm to do that? Exactly that. And look who's that right there. Big up yourself, Idris, in the place. Saying Ed and T, yes, lads, loving the show. Really appreciate you tuning in.
Idris gave one prediction last week and picked up 3 points. He got it spot on.
Which game was it?
Arsenal game, the only one he predicted.
And he said 3-2. Hey, legend. Look at that right there. Guys, we know the game's all wrapped up now. 3-1 Brentford. He's done it. Can he keep up his 100% record? Right there. Big up yourself, Idris. Nice seeing you in the chat. And thanks for tuning in and loving for the comments as well. So, you know what? I forgot about these guys. Aston Villa against Chelsea. Chelsea, sneakily going through. Graham Potter's had a very good start to life at Chelsea. Of course, we spoke about his previous club, but Aston Villa not playing great football at all. Steven Gerrard hanging by a thread at the moment, I'd say. But Ed, records and stats for this one, please, my bro.
Yeah, so Villa's at XG at 1.13, Chelsea's at 1.79, steadily increasing under Graham Potter. The average goals for this game just over 2. And the last 5 meetings doesn't read that great for Villa fans, and I don't care. They have lost the last 3 on the bounce with 1 win and a draw. Villa's form, all falls in there at the moment. They're managing to pick up some points at least. Unbeaten in the last 4, but their performances from Villa fans that I know, a Villa friend today said he doesn't overly mind if they lose to Chelsea and don't perform well at Fulham just to get Gerrard out. I think that's where we are now with Villa and with Gerrard at the moment. And Chelsea, under Potter, unbeaten, I believe, an impressive 3-0 win against my team last week, and on the bounce of 4 wins on the trot with just that 1 draw. So, despite Villa being at home, the odds are stacked in Chelsea and Graham Potter's favour at the moment.
And Aston Villa, and the injury news, of course, no Boubacar Kamara, who's not expected to return until after the World Cup. No Ludwig Augustinsson, Leon Bailey. He could return, touch and go, whether he's going to be fit, but he's not totally ruled out. He is a doubt, or he might not play. Luca Dean, he's going to be out, and of course, Diego Carlos. So a lot of injuries to add to their woes at Aston Villa. For Chelsea, Wesley Fofana, it's just a knee strain, fortunately for him. So he's expected to return before the World Cup, and he might be able to play that last game before heading into it. So maybe he still has a chance of being called up into the side. It's unlikely, but he might be able to be fit, and maybe he might be able to squeeze in due to other injuries and fortunes in that sense. Reece James, though, he did have a knee injury, but he might be okay for the game at Villa Park, as was said in the press conference earlier this week. It's too early to give anything, he said, though, so maybe he's touch and go. He's a doubt, but he could play. Hakim Ziyech, he's ill. He's got a sore throat, so that's why he didn't travel, but he's expected to return. And there's no return date on N'Golo Kante. He's picked up another injury around that thigh area. He's been really struggling with injuries at this moment, and N'Golo Kante towards the latter end of his career. But, right, how do you think, Ed, it's my turn to go first, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How do I see this game going? It's only got to be a Chelsea win, hasn't it, really? Chelsea, with Aston Villa, the form that they're in, this might be the final nail in the coffin for Steven Gerrard, given the Holmes fans' reaction after this game. It's a little bit too... I can't see anything changing now. I can't. Unless it's going to be like an Arteta-esque turnaround when he played Chelsea and we're able to win by 3-1 after going through that barren spell where it looked doomed in lockdown. But yeah, I don't think Steven Gerrard's going to do that. So I'm going to go with a comfortable 3-0 Chelsea win.
Wow. Even away from home. Wow.
Even away from home, yeah.
Just a quick insight I had from my Villa mate that I was speaking to today. One of his biggest bugbears with Stevie G is actually his naivety. Apparently, even in games where they're in it or they're winning at the time, he's still going for very attacking or strange substitution decisions. Like he doesn't quite know his tactics, doesn't quite know his team as well. So I'm very surprised by that. Because this Villa fan that I'm talking about in particular isn't an overly up or down kind of character. He's very level-headed. So for him to say that he's more than willing to lose the next couple or pick up just 1 point out of the next 2 to get that reset and get that change is really interesting.
There you go.
And I'm going with the Chelsea win as well, but I'm just going to go with a 2-0 win.
2-0 win right there. Interesting. Yeah, interesting, which is the same as I can see right here in Idris, and he says he predicts a riot, and it might be a riot after the game for Villa fans with a 2-0 win right there. Shay, 3-1 Chelsea. Aubameyang, Mason Mount, Havertz, I'm guessing, and Ollie Watkins to score. Bit savage on Villa Red, another 3-0 Chelsea win. Exactly, yeah. Wilf, if you lived in the West Midlands, you can't stand Villa. Honestly, they're probably the worst side.
Oh,
Their
without a
fan base.
shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of
Easily,
a doubt.
easily. I know plenty of Villa fans as well, and the ones that I can't believe it. They're trying to chat to us, Arsenal, big Arsenal. Don't worry.
They won the European Cup once.
I know, yeah, exactly. Which most of them weren't even alive for seeing. So yeah. Villa 2, Chelsea 4. So he's expecting goals in here. Paxton, Watkins brace, Sterling, Broya, Havertz brace in there as well. And yeah, sorry, why are you like making me do this after the Chelsea win prediction? I'm off to an acid bath right there. Big up yourself, Wilf. Big up yourself, King.
Oh.
I'm doing a Brad here. Big up yourself, King. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yeah, exactly.
You know. Big up Ed and T, says King. Big up yourself, King. Hope you're keeping well, my brother. It's nice seeing you here, and I hope you've been keeping safe as well. King has said a 3-0 Chelsea win, but I can't get that comment up. Can you?
What's that?
Can you get this comment up? It's not letting me. I think StreamYard's glitching. Yeah. Big up yourself right there. Because someone's had to do a blocking, I think, for us on the TTF. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, guys. Oh yeah, that's all sorted now. So 3-0 Chelsea win. Yeah, that's what I've gone for as well. Villa fans still think it's 1970. Exactly. So yeah, Villa to lose right there. And is it going to be the final nail in the coffin for Stevie G? Do you think?
With the quick turnaround at midweek, maybe not. Maybe a Bruno Lage kind of thing where it might be a bit too quick to get rid of it straight away. But who knows? Who knows? It's the wrong way around for that. Maybe you just go for a free hit at Chelsea and then, yeah.
Look at this.
I can't read that out.
I've gone for a month, and now I am Wilf. The light skinned boy be all like black people look alike. You see, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant, King. You're well. I need to have you back on the show.
I'm just glad you did it.
Exactly. If it was Ed doing it, it's peak. Channel shut down right there. Pick up yourself there, though, King, man. Each and every time. Hope you're keeping safe, my bro. And I look forward to catching up with you again soon and catching up on a stream as well. But we'll move on. We've got 3 more games left to go, have we? We'll talk about this one and then we'll bunch the last 2 together. And the last single one we're gonna talk about is Leicester City versus Crystal Palace in this one, because we know we do have a lot of Palace faithful that do tune in, build the Eagle Eye football family, and the Palace fans right there. What's the Palace fans' ultras? Do you know what their name is?
No, the Sainsbury's massive. I don't know.
Oh, you see, now we've lost them. The Sainsbury's massive. Ed, you hit us with the records and stats now before we lose them.
Leicester with an XG of 1.44, Palace is at 1.19, and the average goals at 2.84. And if we look here at the last 5 meetings, ticking along at the bottom, Leicester actually unbeaten in the last 5 with 3 wins and 2 draws. However, Crystal Palace fans don't go too far. Leicester's form, only that 1 win against Nottingham Forest, and I'm hoping my team can emulate that this weekend. Palace's form, 2 draws, 2 losses, so a bit up and down for Palace at the moment. So yeah, the form guide slightly tipped in Palace's favour, but obviously the last win is very in Leicester's favour.
There we go, right there. So, in regards to injuries for this one, Leicester City, another side that's been injury-stricken this year and this past, 24 months, I'd say. So, no Wilfred Ndidi, he's still out, as well as Ricardo Pereira. He's not expected to be in the side. Ryan Bertrand as well. But on the positive side, Johnny Evans, he's touch and go whether he'll be fit, and he's a big character and player for this current Leicester side for sure in that back line in their weakest area of the pitch. Timothy Castagna, he's expected to be back fit after he picked up an injury. He picked up a bruised eye. Wow, got a black eye from playing football. It's crazy what happens in Premier League games now. Papi Mendy Yep, he missed the last game due to a clash of knees in training, but he should be fit for this one here. So maybe he'll deputise for Wilfred Ndidi in that midfield. For Crystal Palace, though, not great news. No returnees in for Nathan Ferguson, Nathaniel Klein, Jack Butland, James MacArthur, and Chris Richards. So no real updates in regards to those players being back fit. The earliest one could return is Nathaniel Klein, and that's in November. Most of the players are looking to be back after Christmas. So, people, Ed, get your predictions in the chat. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I just did a quick check as well. The Homesdale Fanatics is the Ultras of Crystal Palace, so we'll get it in there as well. So that's what they're actually called. Leicester, incredibly out of form, incredibly out of heart as well, apart from that one performance against Nottingham Forest. I'm backing a Palace away win in this one, actually, after Palace picked up a big win last weekend. Great goal by Eze, I think it was, wasn't it?
Beautiful. Yeah. Class finish.
Lovely technical player, and hopefully some more output from him will be great for the neutrals as well. So, yeah, I think looking at the XG, that 1.44 for Leicester's is slightly raised by that performance against Nottingham Forest. Still going to keep saying that James Maddison is a flat track bully and only turns up against the lesser sides like he did in that game. So yeah, I'm going to back Palace in this one. I'm going to back Palace, and I'm going to go with a 1-0 away win.
I'm going to back Palace as well. I'm going to go for a Palace 3-1 win. I do think Leicester still terrible at the back, and that Forest result might be an anomaly rather than the expectancy now for this Leicester side after they lost and they bottled the lead against Bournemouth, but against a resilient Bournemouth side, by the way. So give credit to them, and I'll give them a little bit of credit when we talk about them as well, more than a little bit actually. But this Palace side, if they can get Eze, Elise, if they can get those players firing in and around Zaha, they could have a good little run as we enter this World Cup period, because their fixtures are quite favourable. Mm-hmm. As Ed told me last week, in fact, when I was talking about FPL. So yeah, I'm giving you guys a little background. Well, probably a week later. You probably already know now if you are FPL fanatics. But I'm going to go for a Palace 3-1 win right there. Let's see what you guys and girls are saying. We've got Louis saying 4-1 Palace. Come on, you Palace is in right there. Louis, do you know what? I can actually see that happening given Leicester's defence. It can lead goals like that. So yeah, Leicester 1, Palace 1. I think Palace will be disappointed with that result. They do really need to start picking up wins now and points on the board after a difficult start in this one here. Leicester 2. Leicester 2-2 with Jamie Vardy and Harvey Barnes with the goals, says Shay. 2-1 Palace, says Wilf in there. It's got to go Sainsbury's. Leicester 2, Palace 1. And King says, my prediction has got nothing to do with me having Maddison and Barnes at the FPL. King, Ed's words about Maddison, not mine. I like Maddison, but you've roasted me before for liking Mason Mount King. So yeah, I mean, I like Maddison. Would you have him in the England squad though?
Who, Maddison?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said on our England stream that Saturday I'd still have him in.
Who do you have him over though?
I don't know. We've got how many spots have we got now? Like 50. How many can we take?
20. Is it 26?
26. Yeah, I think he can be number 26. Because in a game like the first game against Iran or a game against Wales, when maybe they're sitting in the low block, someone like Maddison to sort of get in where he does, a bit like Mason Mount, to be fair, where they can kind of get in and float about and get busy, then why not? I mean, my issue with Maddison is that I just think he doesn't turn up at the big games. There's definitely talent in there. His technique is amazing, but it's just, for me, I just think he doesn't turn up in the bigger games. But maybe that's because he's stuck in a Leicester team currently that are really...
Yeah, well, you know what? I might have to do a little bit of research on this, because I remember him scoring last season and in the season when they won at Manchester City. So He scored against Arsenal a couple of times as well, I think. And King saying there, Maddison is good. I don't agree on Ed's take. He actually scored a decent amount against top 6 sides this season and last. Yeah, you remember he scored against Liverpool, I remember, at one point as well. But maybe I have to look into it. But I would actually start Maddison ahead of Jack Grealish, personally, in England. I think, man, I prefer Maddison, man, than Grealish. And that's probably a little bit because...
I don't think I disagree with that, because I think you've got a bit more action from Maddison, to be fair, whereas I think Grealish is a little bit more, it's more of a passive attack that we have with Grealish. And I think with Maddison, I think it's definitely action. One thing I will say about him is incredibly positive. I don't think I've ever seen him pass the ball backwards. And that's not a bad thing at all.
And his interviews, they're quite entertaining.
I do
like
he seems like an interesting fella.
Exactly that there. Paxton always with Ed's midfielder takes. I think Maddis scored against City, Spurs, Liverpool, and this season Spurs and Arsenal. Yeah, he has. And yeah, in those games against Spurs and Arsenal, he is playing for a much worse side. Maddison has too much personality for Southgate. Possibly, I agree.
Possibly.
Yeah. But maybe, all the criticism about Southgate, not picking Tomori, I mean, against Chelsea. That's not a red card, but even in the first game, he was awful. But anyways, yeah, maybe he knows something we don't know. But I don't know. It's a bit difficult there. But yeah, so to the final 2 games, we are going to bunch them up just so we can make sure we can get it done, and maybe get it done within an hour and a half, a 90-minute performance right here. We've been consistent for you. We don't drop in the games. We don't dip in performances. We've been keeping it going, keeping the energy up high. So we'll enter the 2 now. We'll start off with Fulham versus Bournemouth, which was a championship game last season, and Sunday's game, which is Southampton against West Ham United. Bro, hit us with the records and stats for this one here.
Yeah, so obviously that average goal thing is massively skewed by Bournemouth's 7-goal was it 7? 9 goal battering, was it? What was it? 9 by Liverpool. So that average goals is kind of very much skewed. Fulham's XG at 1.07, Bournemouth's at 0.72, so the worst in the league combined these games. And obviously we are going back to championship days with these last 5 meetings as well, with 2 draws, 2 wins for Bournemouth and 1 win for Fulham. Fulham's form, 3 losses and 2 wins, very up and down, not very many draws currently for Fulham. Bournemouth, however, bizarrely, despite the fact everyone writing them off at the start of the season, they're currently sitting 9th, I think, in the league, and unbeaten in the last 5 with Gary O'Neill doing a very, very good job there. And if we move on to the Ham derby, we've got Southampton versus West Ham here. Southampton with an XG at 1.66, West Ham's at 1.5. Average goal is just over 2, and their current form is Southampton are on the back of 4 losses in a row, and they're so bad that Wolves beat them, and 1 win. And West Ham is almost a reverse with 4 wins and a loss. And I believe that they're playing now or have played.
Yeah, they are playing now. Anderlecht at home. Yeah. So in terms of that, interesting. So yeah, in the injury news, when we do get to West Ham, it's going to be difficult to really know who's going to be fit and available given tonight's game. But for Fulham and Bournemouth, what we do know is Nathaniel Chalobah still is suspended, still not going to be available. Willian has picked up a calf injury. So yeah, he's not going to be fit or available, as well as Livan Kazawa and Manor Solomon. However, their big man, their talisman in Alexander Mitrovic, is expected to return for this game, as well as Kenny Tete as well into that side. I said as well about 15 times there. I've just noticed. But yeah, in terms of Bournemouth, though, no Junior Stanislas, no David Brooks, and no Lloyd Kelly. However, Benjamin Pearson and Joe Rothwell could be fit to add and bolster that midfield for them there. For the Ham derby, no Rasta and none of that derby right there. Southampton, only real injuries is Romeo Lavia and Valentino Livramento being out for them. And for West Ham, as far as we're aware, Naya Fajerd, not expected to return until the end of this month. It'll be interesting to see when he does and if he can really improve that West Ham defence and bolster them in that back line. Maxwell Cornet and Michael Antonio are doubts. Antonio could play, but Maxwell Cornet, he is a little bit of a doubt for this one. So maybe we might see him return indeed. But Ed, I'll give my predictions first on both games. Fulham versus Bournemouth, I think we would have said easily at the start of the season, this is a relegation battle, relegation 6-pointer. If they are to try and get one, both sides have done excellently well so far this season. If you look at the table, Bournemouth sitting pretty in 8th and Fulham in 9th. So this is the top half of the table, still very early on into the season. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think both sides Fulham will be a little bit more disappointed being the home side if they are going to try and stave off relegation and just try and accrue as many points as possible in these games. But Bournemouth, I think they're going to try and continue that unbeaten run. And I'll say a 1-1 draw there. And then for the Southampton versus West Ham game, it's got to be a scrappy 2-1 win for West Ham United. It won't be flattering, it won't be great because they are playing in the Europa League, but just Southampton, it's a ticking time bomb for Ralph Hasenhüttl as well, unfortunately. Do think he's a good manager, but I just don't think this is the right squad for him.
I wouldn't mind him getting sacked and then coming to Wolves. Let's put it that way.
He'd get you playing decent football.
He would.
I think he'd work well with those players as well.
Me too. My predictions for these are exactly the same. I'm going for 1-0 away wins. So a win for they're both 1-0, but one's away, one's. I'm going with a 1-0 win and a 1-0 West Ham win for this one.
Interesting. Right there. Let's see your predictions for these final two games in the chat. We've got Shay, 3-1 Bournemouth, keeping up their fantastic form. Fulham winning by 1-0, says Paxton, and a 0-0 draw in that Southampton West Ham game. Big up yourself, Hanif, as well. Hope you're keeping good, my brother. Shay's gone for a 4-1 West Ham win for the away side too. So he's gone for the away sides to pick up the wins in those games. 1-1, not going to be a classic. Bournemouth above Liverpool though. And imagine if they still are after this weekend. 10 games in? That's a quarter of the season, by the way. Over a quarter. That's crazy. We're going to be over a quarter of the season. Actually, that reminds us. Over a quarter of the season, people. Thank you for your support as well throughout these streams and getting your predictions in. It really, really does mean a lot. And those of you that have stayed consistent and have done well, prizes are going to be coming for you at the end of the season. Don't you worry about that. Plenty to come, plenty to go, and plenty for you to receive as well. 2-0 Fulham, says King. And B&B also said a 0-0 draw in this one. West Ham winning by 2-1. Hitting a bit of form. Yeah, they are indeed. David Moyes is starting to get the ball rolling again and starting
to get they're currently 2-0 up as well.
Are they against Anderlecht? That's decent. Man United still 0-0 and 10 minutes left to go. 2-1 West Ham against Southampton, says King. Southampton and West versus West Ham gonna have the Europa League hangover, and that's the first Southampton win we've seen in the chat today. McTominay coming on the 80th minute.
I can feel his pain through that comment there.
Exactly, I know. Pax, you're gonna be changing your Discord picture again. I remember the one that you had last season. Big up each and every one of you, guys. That's it. We've gone through the predictions. If you're watching this afterwards, make sure you get them in the comments. And also, if you're watching it as well now, it will be really very much appreciated. We've got to thank you so much here, myself and Edmin, for all the support you continue to show. And I'm glad that you guys do enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, let me know what elements you do enjoy, and also what we can get better, because we're still very early into this YouTube thing, I'll say. And yeah, I'm not planning on going anywhere soon, people. So yeah, and hopefully bringing out more and more content for you as we grow. So yeah, thank you so much for all your support. We've gained another subscriber as well this week, and we keep the ball rolling. Can we get to 600? Only way we can do that, people, is for you guys as well, and that's through showing the support, telling friends, hitting that like button, and just by being here and interacting with us. Anything that you'd like to add, bro?
No, 600 before the World Cup and the first England game we're doing a watch along together for as well, aren't we? So the grind will be will be real in November, and I'd imagine my wife Tereak's sister is going to be mad at me through most of November, so I'm going to have to make it up for a Christmas time. But yeah, no, predictions in straight after this video if you can. Can anyone beat Paxton? Paxton's normally done before me and Tv even finish chatting after the stream, so there's a challenge. And
can you beat Paxton? You know what? Yeah. He's watching the United game, so you might get away with it. He might fall asleep during that as well because it's still 0-0, so you might be able to beat him. If you can, please do so. And mods, do your thing as well. You know what you need to do, people. Love to each and every time. Edmin, the main man, although the less said about midfielders, the better.
Hey, you're right all the time.
Exactly. Hey, even what was it? Nah, that's the wrong saying. I was about to say even a broken clock's right twice a day. But yeah, I've lost Edmund now, people. But I hope you all have a safe and wonderful weekend ahead, as it is Friday. Enjoy your last day at work or whatever you're doing, people. And we'll be back on the weekend, definitely for at least one watch along. Definitely. And maybe another video. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I hope you're keeping good and well. Love, take care, and peace.